and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Rasslin Report. And here's your host, Rated R for Rasslin and Jonesy Chats Wrestling.
Welcome back to the Rasslin Report. I believe this is episode 12. Sometimes it's tough to keep track of that kind of stuff, but I'm joined once again by Jonesy Chats Wrestling. Jonesy, what's up, brother?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back again. I can't believe it's another episode 12 now, and it's getting more and more exciting. We say the same every week, but what a time to bring the Wrestling Report back. We couldn't have planned it at a more better time, could we?
Yeah, with a lot going on right now, it's the best time to come back and bring the show back as we have with all that's going down in professional wrestling, especially on the WWE side. We got a lot of stuff to get into, but overall, what have you thought so far we're about, 2 weeks into the Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan era, Triple H head of creative. Week 2, how'd it go for you?
I've enjoyed it. I think it's been really, really good. I'm enjoying the comebacks, the returns. There seems to be some real thought. Like Raw was a great show this week. There was real thought on an end angle or go home angle, which was nice to see.
Yep.
And they're pushing the right people. It's not perfect, but it's a million times better than what we have been seeing, if that makes sense. And I think it can only get better. Clearly, me going to the pay-per-view in a few weeks, I'm excited for this pay-per-view. Before the tickets came out, I wasn't hyped, but I'm getting really, really hyped for the pay-per-view now.
Big time, yeah. I mean, it's tough, yeah, because you have these build-up shows to the pay-per-view, and they've been terrible for a long time. And for some reason now they don't seem as bad. And Monday Night Raw seems like a much better show to watch live, which is a crazy thought. Going back, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where it was still just a train wreck and you didn't want to watch it. And it's getting better and better. And Triple H with all the returns. Now, I do hope that the returns stop for a little bit. I think, I don't want them to go, too crazy with it and, go to the moon with it. And then you get kind of like, it loses its luster after a while. You're just kind of like, wow, it's another guy. Similar to what like AEW does too much sometimes when they debut too many people like in a row consecutively, that you kind of get lost in the mojo of it all. It just keeps going on. But you are scheduled to go to Clash of the Castle. So are you excited? What are you looking forward to? And what else?
I'm really, really excited. This is a great chance for WWE really to put a mark out there in the UK. They've really been hyping this show. And this really feels like a pay-per-view for me where Roman may finally drop a belt, which I've been long overdue to see that. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm expecting some surprises. And the fact we've got this Attitude Era style surprise shock element at any time, I'm interested in what they do. They're going to have to pull out something to get people talking. The way they've been selling tickets, this is the biggest show in 30 years in this country. We're going to have something that stands out other than Roman retaining to me, which I think we're going to get. And we can speculate what the surprises are, but I'm looking forward to it, man. They've got one or two things they can do that I think will get people talking. That's for sure.
So you're convinced that he's going to lose the title at Clash of the Castle?
I think he'll lose one of the titles. I think he has to. Like Raw, obviously, USA Network are demanding the title is on TV every single week.
Yep.
Roman's not going to facilitate that. And it's about time. Like, if he wins here, where does he go next? Like, there's very few challengers at the moment that can beat him. Him winning the belt there, it's not a good way to end the pay-per-view unless you're going to get somebody come out unexpectedly, which they've tried that a few times and it hasn't really worked long term.
Yeah, it really hasn't. It's just I'm not sure. I don't know if it's gonna be more just because it's Drew in the location that it's at, or if it's if it's the right move. Because like to me, it's okay if they do it now. Is it just because it was the hometown crowd? Does that hurt Drew's run if he is the guy to eventually beat Roman Reigns?
I think it does. The thing with Drew is Drew hasn't been built up particularly well. He's obviously beat Sheamus to get the shot. They're going back on how Drew was the only one to beat Brock Lesnar clean, which Roman wasn't able to do. We'll see what they can do. I think back of my mind, it would not surprise me if we get a Theory cash-in attempt at this pay-per-view. Ending the pay-per-view of Theory cashing in, not a good look. I think the fans will boo that. This probably isn't the time. But I think definitely you've got to sort of build on this. If Drew does win the belt, do we then go to Drew versus Karen? That's a natural feud for the title that they've started building already. And I do expect Roman to get the belt back fairly quickly. I don't think this is going to be a long-term Roman without a belt, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to hurt Drew or not. Now, we talked about last week with Theory. Maybe he cashes in, makes it a triple threat, and then that's how you get the belt off of Roman. Maybe Roman's not the guy to get pinned, so maybe it's less of a. I don't know. You got to have maybe Theory's just a fall guy. That's why it's going to be an interesting event because you got the hometown crowd. Now, WWE tends to always kind of like screw over the hometown crowds. A Vince thing. If you got a hometown person there, you tend to get his ass beat in front of the home crowd type of thing. So it's like, do you run the fine line of getting massive heat for not letting the hometown get, the hometown hero kind of win, or do you get the massive pop of him actually winning?
That's the thing. Like, you're going to get that big pop if Drew does win. But then the thing is, if Drew doesn't win, do they take that risk to send the crowd home unhappy? It all comes back to what I said earlier, is where do they go next? If Roman does steamroll through Drew, there isn't a lot of challenges ready to make. Obviously, we know Roman's missing the next pay-per-view. He's not going to be the next pay-per-view after. So it's just down to what they want to do. But for me, clearly, this is the best opportunity we've had in ages for Roman to drop this belt. I'm not saying it is the right time, but Drew with the belt, it makes it far more easier for Austin Theory to cash in and it to be believable.
Yes, that is true. It makes it more believable because him cashing in on someone of the likes of Roman Reigns just doesn't really flow well, and probably even worse for Austin Theory going forward, or Theory, whatever they're going to keep the name thing. That's an interesting topic, though. Real quickly, before we get into all our topics, do you think we're going to get more of, because we got Angel Garza becoming Angel Garza again, are we going to get Ciampa becoming Tommaso Ciampa again? Are we going to get stuff like that with this new era? Do you think we're going to go back to everybody getting their first names back, and the stupid, you have no first name anymore thing go away?
I hope so. I think we're going to get more continuity from people coming from NXT up to the main roster. I think that's what we need. I think the fact is there may be small changes. A lot of it is down to the monetary value of these wrestlers. If there's concern that they're going to go elsewhere and be the rest of the WWE promoted for 6 months to a year, that's where the issue is. But we'll see. I'm not too sure, really. I think it's wrong to give wrestlers nicknames or just let them use a surname like Riddle instead of Matt Riddle. It's just really, really childlike, I think.
Yeah, especially a guy named like Riddle. His name is Riddle, but he doesn't have like a Riddle gimmick, like a Riddler gimmick, so it doesn't really make a ton of sense. But in the same vein as professional wrestlers, superstars in WWE, we have Hit Row, Dexter Lumis returning. So we had Dexter Lumis returning at the end of Monday Night Raw, like really quickly. It kind of seemed like it was a fan thing in the crowd, but it was Dexter Lumis. So we had that playing there. You had AJ Styles kind of give a funny look to Dexter Lumis, like wondering what the hell was that in the corner. I do like the way they did it, because the Dexter Lumis character, the way it is, I think it's a smart kind of reveal to do it the way they did it, and I'm interested to see. I was a fan of Dexter Lumis and the whole character. I want to see how Triple H treats it on the main roster, because it's definitely something that Vince McMahon probably didn't even want to deal with, or even had an idea what to do with it. So I think that's cool. Hit Row being back, taking on two enhancement talent. It's interesting. No Swerve Scott, so we have that version of Hit Row. Those three people, Top Dollar, and the rest of them. So you have that going on. I like it. It's cool. More NXT guys that were wronged by WWE, Vince McMahon, and that regime coming back, and now hopefully getting a solid run.
I agree. Like with Dexter Lumis, I thought that was a really good story out throughout the show. I like the big return. I thought it was really, really good. It's great to see him there, get his job back. That's the most important thing. I'm hoping that they pay off. Like the whole thing with the car smashing somebody, that should have been made of that. That was a great opportunity to do a hit and run thing they could have done. But let's see where it is. And the fact is AJ Styles. I'm not too sure what the connection is between Dexter and AJ. All I would hope is that I'm wondering if he's going to basically throw the whole thing of the Indy Hartwell storyline in the bin. I think he's going to obviously come back and be blaming somebody for that breakup, maybe. But we need to see him more like the Sam Shaw in Impact Wrestling rather than than Dexter Lumis in NXT. I think as a serious character, he can go quite far.
Yeah, I think that definitely. It's gonna be good stuff. Like I said, I like the way they did it. Again, we're going back to that car thing we were talking about. We saw Doudrop and Nikki ASH out there, and we saw the car in the background during that Kevin Owens promo on Monday Night Raw. I want to see what happens more of that. What's the story behind that? Maybe we get it. Maybe it's a threading storyline in the women's tag team title thing, or maybe it's something completely separate. We'll see what happens there. Mark Carrillo says, "What is up? What's up, Mario? What's up, Newman Co in the chat as well." Can Hit Row benefit from having a new member / leader? I personally would have Carmelo Hayes or Cedric join them.
That's the one I was going to say. Carmelo Hayes would be good. Would we see like a Nation of Domination type stable again? For me, when I saw Hit Row up there, they're back with no announcement. I thought that was pretty not for me. Not really excited by the comeback. I don't really feel it. Swerve Scott was the player in the group.
Yes.
This was pretty underwhelming. They were just kind of thrown out there. It doesn't really give me that buzz, in all honesty, but let's see what they can do here. I think they're kind of stagnant. They're not really a big lift in the tag team division for me. I don't think they're any threat to the Usos. But let's see what they can do. I think for me, it would have been far better if they would have had a Carmelo Hayes and maybe an Odyssey Jones or somebody. Let's make them a stable. And I think that there is room for a Nation of Domination stable in WWE this year. I think there's room for that. I think we really could play on that, particularly if we're going to go to TV 14 and controversial storylines. I think for me, this is a great opportunity to do that.
It is now, yeah. The luster is okay. So you have the excitement of Hit Row coming back because they didn't get its shot on the main roster, and they were a popular faction in NXT. The problem is you didn't debut them with an established single star to kind of be the leader of the group because, like I said, Martin's talking about this, or you, that they need somebody that kind of is the guy to kind of go on the solo route because you have Ashanti Adonis and you have Top Dollar being the tag team. You have what's the female's B-Fab? I think her name is
B-Fab,
right?
Fab B, basically.
Yeah. So she obviously the single in the female division, but you need that figurehead that's in the middle that's gonna go for the IC title, the US title, or even the heavyweight championship. So you needed somebody like that. So Carmelo Hayes, I think, is a tremendous shout from Martin Carrillo. So is Cedric Alexander is a solid one. It's just him leading on the mic might be the issue. I think Carmelo Hayes may be better suited for that role to lead with the microphone because he has a lot of charisma. He has that it factor you're looking for. Is a good looking kid. So it's everything flows well in terms of Carmelo Hayes. He has a lot of charisma and a lot of flair that he can hopefully carry the team across the finish line and also be like a singles star.
He has flair. Put it out there as well. What would you think if they added somebody like a Shelton Benjamin or Omos and MVP? That's kind of something they can do. I'm not a fan of Omos by any means, but I feel MVP should be added to this group. He's a great talker. I know you got Fab B there, but we really need to sort of give this group credibility. As a tag team, they're another body, but it wasn't a buzz moment for me. I'm happy to see we get the jobs back, but it wasn't done. There's no real reason to bring them in, if that makes sense. We didn't play on them attacking somebody or something, which it should have been. We blame WWE or somebody in WWE for us being fired. You know what I mean? They got to start using these shoot terms and really sort of stand stuff, I think, particularly if we're going to this new attitude, so to speak.
Bringing that realism to it. I get exactly
the realism.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, so they come in and just beat a bunch of enhancement guys, right? So
they do anything.
Are they going to do the same thing next week? Will it be them coming and just beating enhancement talent each week? And when it comes to MVP or I think Shelton would be cool, but Shelton on the mic isn't the guy to lead a faction, right? He just does not have the mic skills he's never been that guy. MVP, yes, but he doesn't get really physical in the ring. Could he start? Maybe. I just think maybe they need somebody that might be going for the singles titles. I think that's what they need most. Because, in the general, terms of a faction, you have always that setup. There's the tag team, there's the female single, and then you have the male single and a couple other guys thrown in there. So I think that's what they need. And Carmelo Hayes, I think, is that guy. I mean, honestly, I think he's that guy.
That's
really
the person I was thinking of that. I think he's a great shout. What I would say, another thing about it as well is Fab or B-Fab, for me, she's so more comfortable as a heel. Like her as a baby face, it doesn't really work. You know what I mean? But it's week one. Let's see what they do with this. But I enjoyed the fact they come back, but I think there's far more people I'd rather see be called up or be back. I'd have much rather seen Roderick Strong come up, if I'm being all honesty, rather than Hit Row come back. That's just me.
Quick on a side note, is Triple H, is this Roderick Strong the guy that benefits the most from Triple H being the head of creative now on the main roster? Out of everybody, is he the one? Because to me, I think so, because he's been the guy just kind of chilling in NXT. One of those guys, I think he previously asked for release, was never granted it. And I just think maybe this could be the best thing in the world for him.
I hope so. He's fantastic talent. You know what I mean? You can imagine the matches he'd have with a Madcap Moss or a Chad Gable. They're money matches if WWE put them right.
Yeah, definitely. And Madcap Moss needs to change back to Riddick eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
God willing. Nubico, Dexter and AJ Styles were in Impact Wrestling. Also, Dexter Loomis didn't last his run in NWA that long. I mean, that could be the feud, but we might get tag team stuff where Miz and Ciampa versus Loomis and AJ. We might get that, like a kind of odd pairing of, odd couple of pairing of tag team partners in Dexter and AJ. We could see that because, why have him come out during that main event, during that AJ match? There's got to be something brewing there. Eventually, we might get something there.
Yeah, definitely.
Martin Carrillo goes on to say, do you guys think Dexter Loomis would be a heel or a face? I think he's going to be a face. I think he's a face. I think the character, unless you go extreme with it, has to be a face. Because a heel, I think you have to go really, really extreme into that creep, kind of like stalker vibe.
Yeah, I think sort of you make a very good point. I think the thing is, if he was going to be a heel, there would have been none of this reveal. The whole hitting someone with a car, the whole running from the police, it would have been so-and-so's been attacked, who's done it? You know what I mean? Then you get that heel payoff. But can Dexter Loomis work as a face? That's the question. I think for a tweener might be the route to go down, but it's just down to it, really. You've got to have that interaction with him and Theory in some capacity. They've got to play on that a little bit.
Do you think he'll have the same kind of character, like the same Dexter Loomis kind of character, or will it evolve, kind of change?
It's trouble. The problem is that type of character is 24/7 fodder. Like for me, it's not a serious character that's going to challenge the United States title and the Continental title. But if he's not going to cut promos, he doesn't seem to cut promos, then he's giving him a mouthpiece, I think, straight away. Which,
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
unless he's just doing facials, that's it.
Yeah, he would definitely need a mouthpiece because he's not the type of guy to cut a promo if he's going to stay with that same character. Michael, my brothers in the chat, NXT Black and Gold is back on the main roster. You love to see it. I'm not a huge fan of NXT 2.0, just the whole vibrant colors, stuff like that. I like the old school look of the darker arenas, focus spotlight on the ring, black and gold, awesome stuff. Hopefully that's coming back. We see a lot of guys coming back. We may see more coming soon. Eric is at work this morning, but can't wait. The Wrestling Report is on. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for joining us. Don't get back to work. Stay in the broom closet that you're in and keep watching the Rasslin Report. Martin Carrillo go on and say, do you guys expect any future return to mention anything about their previous release? You brought this up, Jonesy, about Hit Row not saying anything, or is that going to be a storyline? Them getting fired, issues? They're going to take shots at Vince. If so, who would be the perfect person except Sasha and Naomi?
I'd like to see Karen do it. Like, I'd love Karen to say sort of, I was so evil you couldn't control me, for example. You wouldn't give me Scarlet. I didn't have my vessel. This is, you put me under a hood, under a helmet, for example, rather than let me unleash my vessel or something like that. Something ridiculous like that, probably, maybe.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, Jonesy, but I was watching the promo he cut on Friday Night SmackDown where he was kind of like, backstage, and then it pans over and he's kind of creeping on Drew McIntyre. He did say that, he was like thrown away like a forgotten toy, kind of like in the abyss. That's the route he went with his promo. So it's a little touch on there, but do you think, I also agree, I think he's the perfect guy to do it, right? But do you think he'll go further with it? Like he'll really go into the weeds with it?
I think he can. Like, he can get away with it. He's got the look. He's got the intimidation. Now, we're meant to forget his previous run in WWE. This is NXT's Karrion Kross we're seeing now. The package is there. We've got the intro. We've got the vignettes. We've got it all. But for me, this guy's been brought in the top. Credit to WWE. The way they've brought this guy back, they haven't had him attacking Mikada. The way he came back last week, you're interacting with the top people, and that's the way to bring up a new talent, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you got to kind of forget. I mean, you can't. I think you can't totally forget the debacle that was his main roster run with the mask and everything like that. You can't forget it. I think maybe you can touch on it briefly, like kind of go around it, but still reference it a little tiny bit, because I think it'll add a little bit to the angst of the character and the anger of the character and the violence of the character. I think it may help if he starts attacking individuals backstage, like agents. He starts throwing around Shane Helms and other guys like that in the backstage. I think that might be a good look. But Mark Carrillo brings it up. Sasha Banks rumors. Also, this brings in Naomi as well. What's the rumors on Sasha Banks and / Naomi?
Okay, so we've got an update for Sasha. So Sasha and Naomi, they are due back. It is expected somehow they'll either be in the tag team title tournament. I'm expecting Io Sky and the Alexa Bliss tag teams to be taken out. I think both these two are going to take each other out. The logic for that is they've got the 6 women's tag at the pay-per-view. I think that's the final of the tournament. It's meant to be the pay-per-view, so I expect them to be taken out. And I expect Sasha and Naomi to either be in this tournament in some capacity, find a way in it, or I expect them to come out at the final and say, we're the champions. I think you're going to have potentially 2 sets of belts maybe, and then that will start that up. But for me, it'd be great to see him back. We need to get Sasha back as a singles. I think that she's far better in this tag team division. If it was like a CM Punk pipe bomb, that type of thing, I've said that before on other shows, this is what I want to see. We need to see Sasha shooting, say how it is. She could be really, really marketable. And particularly with the injuries of Becky Lynch and stuff, I think we need Sasha back as a singles wrestler. But we are going to see it back as a tag team, I believe.
I like the shout of the 2 titles, the 2 set titles, ladder match, right?
We never lost it.
Yeah, let's go down that road, that WrestleMania 10 road, where there's 2 titles on the line, 2 identical titles, 2 claims as being champions, tag team ladder match for the women, for undisputed tag team championships. I think that might be the best way to get relevance behind these tag team titles that have been so useless. Now you're getting a little bit with a tournament, right? Tournaments are always fun if they're booked correctly, if the storylines kind of weave through the tournament. Can we get something like that? I think that would be straight up awesome if you get that ladder match and you get a claim for both sides to win a championship. So let's say you have the tournament final at Clash of the Castle, whoever wins, boom, here comes Sasha, Naomi. They have their stake to claim for those titles as well. You set up a ladder match for Extreme Rules, I guess, right? Make Extreme Rules a little bit more exciting. I think it's a win-win for everybody involved. But with Sasha being a singles, a heel singles, that's Sasha at her best. I think we could get that later on. But I would really like for her to come back and kind of play a little bit into the realism of her leaving and the whole tag team titles, and then get that ladder match. I think that'd be cool.
I think you could get a singles feud out of Naomi Sasha as well. Naomi could blame Sasha. you told me to leave. Look what it done to my career. I didn't get paid for 3 months. You know what I mean? You could be as in depth as that if you want to, really, which it'd be good to see. But I'm looking forward to seeing them back. That'll be a big pop when they come back. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, or
100%.
you could have Sasha turn on Naomi, or Naomi turn on Sasha, saying
It's a match. It'll be a great singles match.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, the story is like, you're the one that forced me to walk out with you, and then it cost me money and stuff like that. You can play that whole realism into it. Numiko, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai, and Asuka and Alexa Bliss are getting double count out in the semifinals. So that's a kind of like a schmozzy, dusty finish there, so you can get them out of it and kind of open up a slot right there.
I think it's sensible. That's the thing. I think it's sensible, but they are kind of favourites for the tournament. Io Sky and Dakota Kai, I'd say they're probably the favourites, but they either get a cheap win, I'd say, here to build up that feud for the pay-per-view, or they're going to go out. If both teams go out, you then free up a spot for Sasha and Naomi to come into the tournament, like we said earlier. But let's see what they do. I'm surprised they're doing this match in the tournament. I thought this would be the final, in all honesty, before the pay-per-view.
Exactly, right. So this is interesting. Now, you get the pay-per-view, so like if these two go at it and then one of them loses, the pay-per-view loses its luster. The match of the pay-per-view loses kind of its heat, because you have one team already beat the other team in a tournament for those tag team titles. So like the six-person tag doesn't really mean that much.
No, it doesn't. I think the film, the 6-person tag, I'm thinking it's a vehicle really just to get Bayley ready for Bayley versus Bianca, I believe, or Io versus Bianca. I think that's the route they go down. The Hills have to win at this pay-per-view. If the baby faces win, this Hill stable group are dead in the water already, I think.
Yeah,
sorry to be brutal and over the top, but that's how I feel.
I totally agree with you on that one. That's spot on. They're dead in the water. So you've either booked yourself into a corner, or you have kind of like a failsafe there, like
It'll be Alexa that gets pinned, probably. Not Alexa. Sorry, Oscar. Sorry, Oscar will be the one that probably takes the pinfall.
Could be, yeah. I mean, she has less, kind of steam than everybody else right now. Marco, will Sasha Banks be more on the spotlight from all of the 4 horsewomen, especially with Triple H on creative? So is she going to be somebody that's more? Well, I mean, we saw her NXT booking. It was one of the best characters we've ever seen in NXT. I mean, probably top 2, 3 ever in NXT character wise and character development storyline, and just what she did in NXT. So I'm extremely hopeful. I'm pretty sure Triple H is chomping at the bit to get her back, and he already probably has a ton of things already planned for her. I can only assume.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree with you. I think she obviously has to be treated right. WWE must have a concern in the back of her mind that she might take a toys and go home again at the back of her mind at any point. But for me, she's a fantastic talent, generational talent. We need to see her back, and they could do some great matches. I'd like to see her probably face maybe Charlotte Flair down the line. That could be a match that we haven't seen for a long time, and I think that would be fun. But I'm looking forward to seeing her back. As I said, I just don't want her stuck in this tag team division. She's wasted there, in all honesty. She should be challenging for the women's title, really.
She is the biggest. Not only does she have the biggest potential, but she is the biggest star of any other woman on the roster. I know Becky Lynch may be like, the main event, the man, all that stuff like that, but I think she has the most range. I think Sasha Banks is the best woman on the roster in terms of potential and just current status as well. They just did terrible booking after her first singles run. It just kind of fell off a cliff there. Martin goes on to say, is Naomi overdue another singles championship run? If so, will she get it this time around? I think she's destined, or it depends how long the bloodline lasts, but destined to become part of the bloodline and maybe get a championship run out of that. I don't think her right now singles coming off of Sasha, unless they do something big with a turn there. I think she's destined to become part of the bloodline, and if she is, then she gets her title there.
I'd like to say part of the bloodline. It's a missing part of the bloodline. They haven't really got that sort of fourth member. You can't really count Sami Zayn, in all honesty. But
the honorary use, yeah.
Yeah, the honorary use. But yeah, no, I think, to be fair, she's definitely destined to probably join the bloodline. It's a sensible choice. I don't know if I put it on notes. I don't think I did. Another one we've mentioned. Now we've mentioned Sami Zayn actually as well. He's going babyface. I don't know if you realize it's a slow babyface turn he's working on. Look for him, in my opinion, to cost the Usos the tag team titles. That's something that I think is obvious at this stage. Very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that happening, and it'll be interesting to see what he gets into after that. Does he go directly for the championship? Does he get a partner and take on, for the tag team titles? It'd be interesting to see what happens coming out of that. Nubenko goes on to say, Asuka needs to be a single star and needs to regain some semblance of steam and shouldn't be on a tag team because she's long overdue for a WrestleMania moment at this point. Definitely is. They gotta, I think, send her away for a little bit and bring her back. And like they already did, but her comeback wasn't really that much to it. So I think maybe they need to do it again, or just do a drastic overhaul of how her presentation is.
I'll put her in NXT 2.0. I know it sounds crazy. Like, she does need a whole new package. Send her there for a while. She needs to come back as the Oscar we once saw in NXT, in my opinion. The babyface connection isn't really working. Both her and Alexa are fantastic singles wrestlers, just thrown together in a mismatch, which isn't really working. For me, Alexa needs to go to the Goddess, which is a heel character. Oscar, we need to see her potentially as a heel back to the character we saw in NXT. It's great they're getting this spot on the pay-per-view, but they are kind of both the third wheel in this. They're both
Yes.
all kind of that don't really belong, in all honesty. But we'll see. I think Oscar's booking's been pretty atrocious since she's come back. From being honest,
I have faith that Triple H will right this wrong
hopefully.
in terms of Asuka. Hopefully, we're going on to the next topic: U.S. title and IC title matches for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so these two aren't official. This is my interpretation of what I think is going to go down. The first one. So if we do the Intercontinental title for me, look for Gunther and Sheamus. I think that's a match that's got to happen. Hard hitting style. Sheamus, obviously from Ireland. It's that whole British type of connection.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Again, you've got the British element. I expect that to start building. I thought they were going to build it on Friday night. I expected him to come out at the end, but that's one. And this other one I'm really excited about. This isn't official, but based on this past week's Raw, I'd call it now. Look for Kevin Owens and Bobby Lashley at the pay-per-view as well. And I think Kevin Owens will be the one that finally gets the belt off Lashley. It's got to happen based on this rebooking of Kevin Owens. I was so impressed with how devastating Kevin Owens looked on Raw on Monday as well. He looked like an animal.
He definitely did now, but does that bode well in terms of how you create a match between somebody that looks like Bobby Lashley, the size of Bobby Lashley, and this new kind of rebrand of Kevin Owens back to the, devastating Kevin Owens? Because like if you think about it logically, you just look at the two, kind of one doesn't really fit in terms of optics. He can't really destroy or like demolish Bobby Lashley in the typical sense. He really has to, I think, kind of be dastardly with it, use weapons or use something to really take Bobby Lashley out. I don't think he could powerbomb him on the apron and kind of just go from there. Because Bobby Lashley's he's an absolute Greek god. I mean, just look at him. So you can't really. I don't think you can go that same route with him just powerbombing on the apron and just being over with and destroying Bobby Lashley that way.
You probably can't, but then for me, Bobby with his title, it's long overdue for him to drop it.
Yes.
Kevin is the one. You could do some optics to make Kevin look better. He could cheat, but we need the same Kevin Owens to beat John Cena. We need this Kevin Owens that's launched due his potential. And I think for me, given the United States title, it's going to be fresh. That also releases Bobby then to go after whoever the world champion is, because Bobby really should be a main eventer. He's stuck with his title and he's too good for the title, which I think Triple H will want to fix. But for me, that is the match I want to see at the pay-per-view. I'm calling it. I can't think of another match for Bobby to be in that excites me like this match. I've been thinking about it all week, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing else really built up other than this. I mean, and Bobby Lashley, you need him in the main title picture. Do you go if so? Okay, so if we get Roman losing to Drew, we just go back down the Drew Bobby route again.
No, we're going Drew and Karrion Kross, mate. That's the route after for the next pay-per-view, I think, if Roman does drop the belt. Yeah. They've started that work. Bobby can always go after. He could always have a feud with Karrion after or Drew after, potentially. It's just down. They just need something to do. Even if Bobby isn't chasing the title belt, this guy can still face top-level talent, if that makes sense.
No, but I mean, like, them... Well, you think they ever will go back to that? Well, because we had a long run that feud lasted a while, So
it was all right. It was an all right feud.
Yeah. But do you go back to it? Because obviously Karrion Kross is the guy after, but we don't think Karrion Kross can win the title that quickly. So do they just go directly to Bobby Lashley again, type of thing?
I hope not. I'd rather see Bobby and Karrion as a new match.
Yeah, you want to go away from those things.
Or Bobby and Gunther is another one I'd love to see as well. To be fair,
yeah, that's a great one.
Like either one of them two. To be fair,
Nubico KO definitely did send Ezekiel to the hospital. Are you seeing KO as a tweener?
I don't think so. I think he's going to be a heel.
Straight
has to be a heel. He's much better as a heel. He's a great comedic character. This is the lift I hope he would get. I thought we'd get this lift after his main event at WrestleMania this year, but this is the time now. Triple H behind him. He can do some great work. And in a dream scenario, I'd love to see him world champion in the next year. I'd actually mark if that happened.
Well, I mean, imagine this. So this is nuts. He's in the main event of night 1 at WrestleMania against the biggest star in the history of professional wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin, in a return match, his final match ever, Stone Cold. We hadn't seen him in forever, since 2003. So, you just go into a thing with Ezekiel afterwards, and you're kind of goofy with it after that. It just didn't make much sense. So I don't see Triple H pulling off stuff like that that we saw with KO. So I think KO definitely goes full heel, full bastard SOB heel. I think that's what we'll get from him, definitely. Martin goes on to say, I hope the IC title and US titles can be defended 2 times a month on TV so it can steam back into his prestige, like somewhat of how John Cena did for the US title in 2015. I think they're doing that with those video packages of the US title and the history of it. I think they got to do a little bit more with the IC, but I think the US title is kind of in a better trajectory than the IC right now.
I thought the video package on SmackDown for the IC title was fantastic. We got people such as Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels saying how important it is. If it's defended regularly, it should be on every single pay-per-view. This Intercontinental title belt needs to be used as a tool to get your next main eventer eventually. And they've got a real good chance to rebuild it. I believe in Triple H. I think the whole point of championships, belts, I think we're going to see them. I'm really getting positive behind the Intercontinental title being relaunched, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm so too. I love the match between Gunther and Shinsuke. I hope Shinsuke was one of those interesting guys. Shinsuke, I think, may benefit the most from Triple H coming back as well as head of creative, because WWE had no idea what to do with Shinsuke. They never have known really what to do with a Japanese wrestler, especially one that doesn't speak perfect English. They don't know what to do with him. So I think Triple H is gonna get the rocket behind Shinsuke sooner rather than later. We may see him elevated even more. He got that match against Gunther. It could be just a taste, and we could get more going forward. Martin goes on to say, if Sheamus faces Gunther, who would be the face? Will the Brawling Brutes split? What do you think about this one? I have to think. I think Gunther becomes a heel in that match.
I think Gunther's the heel. Sheamus, although they'll both be playing heel, but Sheamus will get the crowd pop, definitely. I think we said last week, correct me if I'm wrong, that Pete Dunne is going to be Pete Dunne soon. That's something that's slowly in the background. I believe they're working on. The Brawling Brutes, I don't think Sheamus really needs it. And I think this will just be a real hard-hitting match. I'd love to see it no DQ, but we're not going to see that. But I think it'll be fun. And I think this very much could be one of the stars of the pay-per-view, like one of the shot matches that would be great. I hope they deliver it. I can't see another match for Gunther at this point that fills me with the same excitement.
I think this is the perfect match on the card to do a time limit draw between Sheamus and Gunther for the IC title. The guys beat the living hell out of each other, and you go to a time limit draw. Neither guy can stand at the end of it. I think that might be the best way to go, because I just don't think Sheamus right now should be win the IC title. I think Gunther can have a nice, good run with it. And I think you can have the feud going a little bit longer after that. I think a time limit draw, something WWE never does. I think this may be a solid spot to maybe put that in there. Time limit draw, the guys beat the living hell out of each other.
I like it. The sensible booking. We could get a few months out of this as well, which I think would be good to see.
Mark Hero says, I'm feeling that like NXT Nakamura is coming back and deserves a serious world title run once he is built up. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we're getting that. Is he going to win the title? Yeah, it just depends on who the champion is, I think, at the time. But yeah, I think we're going to get that NXT Nakamura, the one we've been waiting for, that we got a taste of when he won the Royal Rumble. We thought we were going to get. Then you had the whole nut shot after nut shot with AJ Styles. And I just think maybe we'll finally get what we always wanted on the main roster, NXT Nakamura.
I'll put it out there, and I would only give Nakamura the world title if you're going to have LA Knight be his manager and be spokesperson. I hate Nakamura's promos. For a world champion, he can't deliver a promo.
Yes,
his in-ring ability is fine. Do you like that partnership of LA Knight and Nakamura? And could that work?
If the name is an LA Knight, I think so. Now LA Knight,
it would work something like that.
I'm a fan of LA Knight. I am. I think he has such a good look, and I think he may take away a little bit too much in terms of visually the optics from Shinsuke. I honestly
it's just
think
speaking.
It's just a
speaking.
speaking.
Cut a promo based on his
but
behalf.
he has such. But to me, he just has such a good look to him. Good looking guy, good shape. Very good on the pro. But I'm a fan of Maximum Male Models. I mean, I like it, right? He's still currently part of it, correct? Right? Remember, because the thing was that he was going to leave
soon, I believe.
He'll be leaving soon, right? Yeah. So I'm a fan of it. If he leaves it, fine. That is what it is. I could see him being a mouthpiece, but I want to see him in the ring, though. I do want to see him. I think he could be something super special if they go away from the LA Knight name.
I think that definitely. I was thinking more of like $1 Million Man, like back in the day. Ted DiBiase, he takes wrestlers, and obviously the $1 Million Man. He was a fantastic talker for a lot of people that couldn't talk. I'm not saying that this will work, but for me, it's a shame we can't really have a Paul Heyman with Nakamura. But you can't obviously take that away from Roman Reigns. But you never know. Nakamura maybe is world champion, but doesn't cut promos. Could still be good, but I think that's the one thing that kind of lacked last time he was challenging up for the world title, really, in my opinion.
It's the promo. Yeah, the promo that's what hurts. And
even the heel turn he did against AJ Styles was just not very good.
Yeah, and that's the problem with WWE. They don't know how to book somebody who doesn't really speak English that well. It's a tough thing that they have, especially with the Hispanic wrestlers, too. It's tough for them because if they don't speak English that well, they're tough for them to book, especially with weekly television, all stuff they have to do on the side. Maybe a little bit tough. Could help him getting a mouthpiece. LA Knight could be that guy. Could we get somebody else? It'd be interesting. I mean, honestly, it would. Next topic, Bray Wyatt potential return.
Okay, loads of talk this week about Bray Wyatt coming back. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. It for me, I would hold off. I don't think this is the time to bring him back. This is your one big return you've got left, really, besides Sasha. I'd say that we know about. I'm hoping they would hold off for late in the year, but I do expect him back eventually in WWE. Would you be a fan of seeing him now involved in the Edge and Balor feud, or do you think he should hold off? Because I think if they bring him back at this pay-per-view, despite being there, I will mark out. But to me, it feels like a wasted opportunity, in all honesty.
It is a wasted opportunity. I wouldn't bring him back now because he's going to get lost in all the returns. There's so many people returning at once. It's just he's obviously the biggest name because we heard there's rumor, there's talk about him and Vince having issues backstage. They clashed a lot, stuff like that. He's one of the guys that everybody thought Triple H is back. He's coming back, right? He's coming back. We're gonna see him back. I think hold off November Survivor Series or surprise entry in the Rumble and have him. If he's surprise entry at the Rumble, he has to win the Rumble.
I think it's a bad idea, even the Rumble. I think it's a waste of bringing him back. So much going on in that match.
Yeah. Okay.
So much going on in that match already.
Yeah.
You're already going to have Cody and Becky Lynch back in that match, bear in mind, potentially. So where would you bring him back in then? I think you need to slow build vignettes, and I think you need to come back on the road to WrestleMania, personally. For me, if you are bringing them back, let's be very clear, I'd like to see The Fiend back, but Bray Wyatt and The Fiend never need to go near the world title. The minute you book them in that corner in the world title, there's no way out of it. And that's what happened last time. When The Fiend was on that run, he lost to Goldberg. He never, ever really recovered, in all seriousness. So bring him back, slow build him. I don't really want him involved in Judgment Day, in all honesty, either, because I think they're failing down. But I would like to see him slowly build it. Vignettes week by week. If you're going to bring him out doing sort of Sister Abigail at the end of a pay-per-view, fine. But it's where they go. Where would you bring him back? Would you actually bring him back in the Rumble then?
Quick question. Mysterious vignettes where you you don't know who it is and he's surprised.
You don't want to make it as obvious as the Edge ones the other week where you knew it's Edge weeks in advance. We want slow bits. WWE have got this really opportunity now, if they are TV 14, to do stuff that looks like horror movies and really, really slow. And if it is going to be The Fiend or some sort of new character that Bray's offering, why not sort of tease us? Make sure, don't even tell the dirt sheets who it is. Let's let everyone try and figure out who it is.
Yeah, for me, I would pick Survivor Series over the Rumble because the Rumble because you bring in the Rumble, he's going to be the guy who kind of has to win it. Because if Cody comes back as well, it's like, who do you give it to? And then you're correct. If he wins the title, you have another Roman situation where it's like you have a guy really, how do you beat him? Who do you beat him? And is it the right time to beat him? That's the problem you have with him, obviously. And they made a mistake when they had him lose to Goldberg, completely lost all of his luster and everything he had. I think Survivor Series is probably the best. It's in November, so you're still around the Halloween
type thing,
spooky
really.
type thing. It's fall, winter, so I think it's a good idea, maybe Survivor Series, to bring him back and get him into something so that you can build towards Rumble and WrestleMania. The problem is he's gonna have to be one of those guys who kind of has to be in the Rumble. If he's not, it's kind of like, why is he not in the Rumble? It's one of those things. It's like, when do you bring him back? It's like such a tough thing to do. And I think probably Survivor Series or, like you said, Road to WrestleMania.
If I was booking it and it was up to me, I'd give you his WrestleMania match now. Who I would do. You need to get Bray Wyatt really as the Fiend and give him some sort of female valet, not Alexa Bliss, because that was a disaster, and have them face Karrion Kross and Scarlett at WrestleMania. That, or just have a singles match between them two. That program as a WrestleMania. You could do a coffin match. You could do loads of different types of matches or iterations. That could be some fantastic television, and I would like to see that person. That's a dream match for me.
Yeah, it definitely is. Mark Kerr goes on to say, what if Bray Wyatt returns with many iterations of characters? So do you mean like he comes back as the Fiend, kind of Funhouse Bray Wyatt, and then the old school Wyatt family Bray Wyatt? Like, does he come back like that, like Three Faces of Foley type of situation?
It could be interesting to see. I think you kind of water it down. Bray needs obviously his own work, his own character. The Fiend is one you have to bring back because just how over he is. Funhouse Bray was okay, but maybe under Triple H, if they're going to do these fun houses, there may be a payoff. The trouble with the fun house last time was there was no payoff. There was just stuff in there for no reason that went nowhere. If it's well thought out and in 6 months' time, 5 months' time, they know where they're going, let's put a sort of something in the fun house for a reason, and you're going to pay that off, then fine. But trouble with Funhouse Bray last time was it was all kind of a waste of time in the end, really. There was no real benefit to watching it, if that makes sense, because they put stuff in there and they didn't explain Ram Nim Rabbit or anything. And we never really got any backstory, which for me, I'm a details person. I like to find out why someone's in there. Like on Raw this week with the car crash, they explained it at the end. They give us an idea of what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to, it's all long-term storytelling in the end, right? It's like you have to have a 6-month plan for these storylines at least, or we
said that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. For the bigger storylines, have them more fleshed out that you can take your time with them and really weave them through and have a beginning, a middle, and an end to them. It's not just can't be just the random things where you just kind of like, you know what, never mind. Nobody's gonna remember that anyways. Let's just scrap it and then even go any further with it. You gotta have a plan in place when you bring somebody in like this, that you know where you're headed, what is gonna end up happening and what's going to happen in between and the point of it all. Because in the end, it's like everything else. You want to be on the ride from the beginning to the middle to the end of it and kind of have, and you want to like pick up on these certain things as you go through and get the satisfaction of finding out what everything meant in the end, which you don't get sometimes in wrestling. You just kind of people, it's always that thing. It's like, they'll never remember that anyways, right? So we'll just kind of scrap it. That's the kind of thing you run into. Martin goes on to say, I think that having Bray Wyatt's a first feud with Randy Orton once he also returns and have one more match to have that continuity, also ending the feud.
It'd be okay as long as Bray wins. Bray obviously got robbed at WrestleMania, didn't he?
Yeah.
In that match. So as long as he wins, it depends on what they would do. It depends if they're going to go back to the previous stuff we know about Bray. They may not even want to explore a lot of that, but it's exciting times. I just really, really hope that he isn't the leader of Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And that's something I've heard quite a bit online, which I just really think for me, putting him in this stable, it's not the Wyatt family. And Judgment Day really have lost rank in recent weeks. They've been really, really watered down a bit. For me, he has to come back as the Fiend, as we said earlier. It'd be great to see him back when he does come back, but you just got to hope WWE know what they're doing. And it's not just a comeback for the sake of it, really.
Well, it's an interesting one. He says, like, maybe having random attacks on Raw and then Randy calls out the attacker. Boom, there you go.
That's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy to do. Like, I think you could delay his comeback for 6 weeks and do, as I said, the vignettes for 6 weeks. Him coming back, as you said, like, I appreciate you said the Royal Rumble. It's great for a pop.
Yep.
But for me, him in the Rumble, if he's not in it, as you said, he has to win it. And I
has
think
to win it.
Unless you're going to have, and then you then have that trouble where he's in the world title picture, he gets the belt, and we're back to not being able to beat him again. You know what I mean?
It's the same situation as you have a Roman. You don't have anybody to beat him. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's just because it's just the character. It's more the character of the Fiend rather than the actual perform, because Bray Wyatt is beatable. You could beat him. It's just Roman is just on a whole nother level where it's like you have nobody built up to beat him. That's the difference. Yeah. All right. Next topic: Drew McIntyre injury. So
Drew McIntyre's obviously been working. I didn't know this. He's been working with a back injury apparently. So he's been pulled from house shows recently. Apparently doesn't need surgery, which is positive. He's still expected to be at the pay-per-view. It is kind of worrying though that if this will stop him winning the belt a little bit. I don't know how this injury occurred. I think. Thank God he's going to be able to be at the pay-per-view, because I don't know what they would have done if he couldn't turn up, because this is his show ultimately. What's your thoughts on the injury, and how do you think this will affect him on TV? I think he will still get promos and stuff, but
he's going to get promos. So that's kind of like what we've been getting, right? Coming on promos and stuff like that. He got attacked really quickly by Karrion Kross. I think we're going to get more of that. I don't think he'll wrestle until the pay-per-view. I don't think so, because you're risking a lot, because such a big pay-per-view and he's the hometown guy. You're risking a ton having him actually wrestle out there and get injured any more than he already is. If it's nothing serious, you baby it as long as you can. Hopefully he doesn't get injured more or re-injured during the match, and that'll be the worst case scenario right there, because if you're gonna have him win and he's hurt, there goes everything.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, man. This is the worry they're gonna have. Like, if they do give the belt to Drew and then the next night he's having to do Shawn Michaels, there's the belt because I'm injured, it won't be good. But let's see what they do. I'm glad that they've been sensible and taken him off house shows rather than keeping him there. But I was disappointed. I think Drew's done some fantastic work, and it's a shame really if he's got this injury. WWE can't afford any more injuries at this point. So hopefully they'll keep him off TV or at least keep him off of in-ring action to the pay-per-view at least.
Definitely, they'll be shit out of luck if he gets hurt in that.
That'd be awful. Imagine that the whole build of it. It's almost like watching a football game, like a Man United game, and Cristiano Ronaldo going missing for 6 months. You know what I mean? That's the only positive you've got. It's not the best.
Yeah, he's like the money drawer in that aspect. So it'll be terrible. Eric goes on to say, I bet you Braun Strowman wants to come back as well. I don't know how he's doing with what he's doing now. He's obviously dating Raquel Rodriguez, right? So they have that, and he could come back just, to be with his girlfriend, but he's with the CYN stuff, and he's hanging out, So I don't know with EC3. So I don't know if he's doing okay there, if he needs the money. I mean, his price tag was pretty high before.
He's obviously dropped
down a lot. Yeah, it's obviously
absolutely huge.
Down a lot, yeah.
The only reason why I think he will come back is if he's going to take a pay cut and Nick can't get some sort of deal out of him. I'm surprised he hasn't gone to AEW. That's an alarming sign. They didn't want him because of the price. He may come back in WWE eventually. I hope it's the Braun that we were really behind, not the slime and all this other stuff. So I've got confidence in Braun coming back. He's another one for the Rumble maybe that can come in for a pop.
Yeah,
essentially.
definitely. There's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic: Roman to miss Extreme Rules.
Yeah, so Roman Reigns is out of the next pay-per-view, Extreme Rules. Yeah, not good. So hopefully he hasn't won the belts, as we said earlier. I think missing another pay-per-view as world champion would be good to see. I think this is part of his new deal where he does limited dates and stuff. But yeah, not really a fan of this. What's your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I mean, missing pay-per-views is one thing. I'm okay with him missing like a SmackDown or a Raw, not always having a match and stuff like that. I'm fine with that. But the pay-per-views, that's a whole nother thing. I think if he's gonna miss the pay-per-view, you really have to have those secondary titles mean a ton to kind of main event those events. If you main event it with something random, like a random singles match for no stakes on the line, no titles on the line, I think it hurts. I think you notice it more. I think you have to have the secondary titles be the main focus of the pay-per-view if Roman is to miss it and he's holding both titles. I think that
I think it's sensible what you say. For me, if Roman isn't there, look for Karen and Drew to be the main event of the pay-per-view. If Drew's been cleared, that's what I think they'll do. But yeah, as I said, it'll be a shame to miss him at the pay-per-view. He's the best thing in WWE, as you said, for weeks on weeks. I agree, he's one of the best things. But it's okay if you've got 6 other Hulk Hogan's, 6 other Stone Cold Steve Austins. But when you've only got one, as we say, every single week, it makes things a bit more difficult.
Yeah, it makes it. Yeah, when you only have one cash cow, it's kind of like, what do we do if this one goes down, if we don't have them, stuff like that. Now, do you? We talk about this a lot, but yes or no? Are they gonna continue to keep both titles together, or are they gonna eventually separate them somehow?
I think they'll separate them. Like I think they need to. You need 2 different champions. Like Roman can have one of them. I think even as a world title picture, it's much better with 2 champions. If you say you're going into WrestleMania and Roman gets, I don't know, a broken foot or something, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Going into WrestleMania with a title vacant isn't something they want to do. If you've got another world champion on a backup, at least you could push that as the main event. And the other title, you could do the tournament. It's not so bad. It's too much on one person, particularly if they're not there all the time. The good thing about not being on TV is they don't get injured. I guess that is a positive to a certain point, but I'd like to see two different world champions, really. I think Raw's going to be more TV 14. SmackDown might be a bit more family friendly. And I think the champions need to be reflective of that a little bit.
The problem is, like, how do you split it then at that point? And now at this point where you're at, I guess, do you have Theory cash in and technically he's cashing in only for one title and that's how you get it off of him type of thing? That's kind of confusing and convoluted there. You have to explain
it is a mess.
That's
the trouble. Like, they've not been very clear with at the pay-per-view if it's for both belts. I'm pretty sure that they will use that. So if Roman does lose to Drew in some capacity for one of the belts, Paul Heyman will the next night or something will say, we've got this clause, it was only for one belt, and then Roman will somehow be able to keep one of the belts, I presume. But what it should be is Roman loses the belt, let's start the match again for the other belt. That's what it should kind of be. But yeah. I don't know what they're going to do. I haven't even thought about that. That's a great question, to be honest.
That's the problem. Is like, how do you separate these 2 titles? They're kind of like conjoined twins right now. Like, how do you, like, it's kind of scary to go in there and kind of separate.
It's a nightmare.
Martin goes on to say, having Roman Reigns not being on all the PLE's premium live events, which is funny, because they're not pay-per-views anymore. They are technically premium live events, so I guess we have to start using that. Does it damage on WWE's standpoint? I think, like I said, if you don't have those secondary titles mean as much, not saying it mean as much as the heavyweight, but be like 1B, which is secondly was supposed to be so that 1A being the world championship, 1B being those secondary titles. If you don't have them mean that much like they used to, then yeah, I think it does, because it's like if you had guys like before that were IC champions and like they would main event, Razor being his IC champ. He felt like Razor's IC champ felt like kind of like he was WWE champion at times, because it felt so important because Razor was such a top guy and he had that title. So it felt like that guy was a main eventer, even though he's technically a mid-carder because he's holding the secondary title. But you got to make that title feel like it's still a main event title at times. So you have to have main eventers hold it. You have to have those guys actually feel like main eventers that are holding it. And it needs to be presented in a way where, like, if that title's not there, top dog on the show right now is whoever's holding the IC or the US.
I agree. I think the thing with it as well is Roman's that over. He doesn't even need the world title. So Roman can just be off pay-per-views and just having singles matches for no title at some point because he's got that run still to come. I agree. Him missing, though, it's more a case of if you go many months without the world title. The world title used to sell tickets back in the day.
Yeah.
I know WWE have got a fantastic roster these days, but I just want to see a world title. Like, I want to see the champion focal point of the show a lot of the time. That was your main money feud coming out of pay-per-views back in the day. So I think that's kind of the route I want to go down, particularly as a wrestling historian. I love that whole sort of month after, night after, Raw after, this is where we're going. Oh, that's good. That's exciting. We know for the next 4 weeks this is the build, instead of, is he going to be on the pay-per-view? Is he not going to be on the pay-per-view? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not a good look. If you're wondering who's going to show up on the pay-per-view that week, that month, that's not really the best look you can possibly have. All right, it's that time. It's that time again. Retro topic of the week. It's our best segment, voted. Everybody agrees. Best segment of the show. Retro topic of the week this week is, what is the Undertaker's best feud? Now, we've seen him 30 years of destruction, right? With the Undertaker. He's had so many feuds. Mankind, Kane, HBK, Triple H, Batista, Edge, the Austin, Rock. It's so many names. He's been through like so many different eras and so many different talent. Lesnar, as you go on, you keep remembering names after name after name. It's just, what is his best feud?
Yeah, I'm going to put it out there, Anthony. This is the truth, honestly. It's Undertaker versus Khan Mustafa. Yeah, seriously.
There it is.
No,
There it is.
that was a joke. Sorry. No, his best feud ever. I think for me, it was one or two. It was either Undertaker Mankind or Undertaker Kane. I'll go Undertaker Kane.
The story
WWE demonstrated some fantastic storytelling.
Yeah.
Paul Bearer was an absolute insane promo. Very well thought out, months on months. They did different stipulations. You've had sort of the Inferno match. That was incredible to see in WWE, and I thought we'd see that back in the day. You had loads of other stuff, and the heel turns, the history, and the story. This felt like a movie rather than wrestling. You know what I mean? This is the attention to detail that I miss, if I'm being honest.
No, I totally agree with you. It's like it's probably, I would have to say, top 3 best storylines of all time, because in terms of storytelling, it's so well produced and so well thought out that Bruce Pritchard's idea of the Kane character is just it's genius. It really is. And how that whole thing played out. Now, the only thing is that the matches between them weren't all that great in terms of just the in-ring stuff. So if I had to base feud specifically just on matches alone, I think HBK is his best opponent by far. I think they mesh so well, and they play off each other so well, especially younger HBK, like that first run of feuds that they had. I think in terms of in-ring quality, that one, but in terms of storyline, Undertaker Kane by far. I think that's the best. A really underrated one is Undertaker and Batista. I think they had a really good feud in that SmackDown run. I think their feud was really good. But in terms, if I had to break it down between two storyline feud, it has to be Kane Undertaker. Match wise, in ring, Undertaker and HBK.
Yeah, I agree. I think Undertaker Mankind, as I said, it's got to give that mention. The fact they're able to do the boiler room brawl, the other stuff, Paul Bearer turn.
Yeah, outside the box stuff, yeah, they did. Yeah.
And it's just really, really creative. You know what I mean? Back in that day, where you're chasing WCW, and the amount of punishment that Mick Foley was able to take, and that story they had, I think it's just really, really good storytelling. But WWE have got a real good chance these days to do that. If they've got Triple H in charge, this is a guy that isn't going to rip up the script on Raw going into it. That's forgot that he promised a match 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? This is what I think we're going to see, which is really positive.
Yeah, when it comes to ripping up stuff like day of or the night of the thing, I just think if it sucks, throw it out there and people are going to say it sucks. I think it's better to just throw something out there that sucks rather than you scrap it and hope people forget about it. I think it's a worse taste in people's mouths. Mark Carrillo goes on to say, it was just wrong idea to unify both titles, and with the new deal Roman did, it could have helped Raw talent get an opportunity to at least get a shot for one of them.
I agree. I think the thing is, the benefit of getting the belt off Roman, when we go into pay-per-views month on month now, so the title was actually at jeopardy. Like, somebody could beat Drew at any time, whereas nobody can really beat Roman. And that sounds crazy. Drew's finally getting the belt off Roman a little bit, but for me, it is kind of believable. And never know, by the time Roman gets the belt back at WrestleMania, maybe where he faces The Rock potentially, we may have like another 2 or 3 people that can beat Roman at some point. If they slow build people, particularly that Kevin Owens coming back and stuff like that, Kevin Owens could beat Roman Reigns next year potentially. I know it sounds absolutely crazy saying that. I believe in it.
No lie. I mean, this match coming up at Clash of the Castle is probably the most interesting match since he had since the triple threat at WrestleMania. I think because it's the one you're worried about the most. You're wondering, like, is it because, and it's mainly just because it's the crowd that it's taking, the location and the crowd. It's like, are they going to give it to the guy who's from the from the country more or less, or not? And it's just one of those things. Like, this is the match with the most doubt, I think, since the triple threat at WrestleMania.
Definitely a doubt with the triple threat. We need to get, as I said last week, we need to get rid of the Usos in some capacity. They're still the threat. Madcap Moss this week, I don't really know what he was doing. That seems to be a bit random. For me, unless you're going to do the sort of Logan Fury, not Logan Fury, Tyson Fury thing we said last week.
He did come out of retirement, though, I think he said.
Yeah.
Boxing retirement, Tyson Fury.
There you go. Or Conor McGregor or something like that.
Yep.
For me, this is the point now up to the pay-per-view where we need to see people to take out the Usos. Whether that's a Sami Zayn with a Chad Gable or something crazy like that. That's the team I would love to have seen. That would probably never happen. It's just this point, really. We need the Usos to be taken care of. If they're the ones that cost Roman the belt or cost sort of Drew the belt, for me, I think we've seen it every single month. So I need to believe that they're going to be the ones that don't have an impact in this match. Really, it's not doing anything for Roman. Relying on them, although it gets the heel heat, and they're a great tag team. I just think Roman has to do this on his own in some capacity.
He does, yeah. It's a sticky situation there, and it really is. I think it's just unifying. It's the fact that they haven't built anybody and unifying. They kind of like shot themselves in the foot twice by not building anybody to be on that level, and then unifying the titles and put it on him. It's just like you're kind of like.
Would you want to see? Do you want to see him lose or do you want to see him win? In all honesty, obviously you're not British. You don't have any
exactly.
Sort of
yeah, so I don't have any stake in that, right? Because I'm from the U.S., so I don't have that tie to it like you would or anybody else would from the UK. So it's like to me, I don't think Drew right now is the guy to beat him. I just don't think it's gonna work well. I think it'll work well that night for the crowd. I think the crowd will be super happy.
So Drew wins it and then loses it on Raw.
I guess, right? Because like
catches in a rematch.
What else do you do? Because it's like I don't think right now Drew's on the same level as Roman, and I think Drew
he's not
Drew is such a believable promo when he's not playing into the whole Scottish heritage and the stories. He's such a I always go back to this one promo when he showed up in the main roster. It was him and Dolph Ziggler in the ring. He cut a promo in there, and when I heard it, it's one of those promos like it doesn't really happen that much for me, but when I hear it, I'm like, wow, that was a good promo. I believed every word that man just said, even though it's a scripted promo. I believe every single word he said. It's a promo he cut with Dolph Ziggler in the ring when he first, one of those first times he showed up on Monday Night Raw, Drew McIntyre, and I thought he's a believable promo, but I just don't think he's the guy right now.
I agree with you. Can I put it out there? I think the thing with it as well is I think with Drew, this past week on SmackDown, the way it started, unless it was the injury that stopped it, he should have been a lot more angry. He got attacked by Karrion Kross. He should have been raging running out the show instead of smiling, I'll get you when I get you.
Yeah.
This is somebody that should be raging. If this was the Attitude Era and someone had cheap shotted somebody, they would be down their throat straight away. You know what I mean? But small criticism, but I thought the promo was good. He delivered on SmackDown. I just want to see more anger from Drew. We need to see this guy that's unstoppable. Going in his match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, you felt that buzz. You felt this guy's unstoppable. They've got a few weeks now to create that particular thing, that belt off Roman. Without him being in the ring now, I don't really know how you do it. It's going to be really tough.
Yeah, and then you need to go that route with Drew because just look at him. He looks like a man's man. He looks like a if he was American, he looked like a lumberjack basically. He's like the brawny guy from the towels, the paper towels. That's what he looks like. He's just big, strong, guy like that.
One thing I was going to say as well is I think look, the reason why I think Drew will beat Roman, they very much want to create British Bulldog Bret Hart from '92. That's the whole thing in the background that they're trying to do, and it's a feel-good factor. The greatest feel-good factor in the UK is British Bulldog beating Bret Hart. Yeah, no one saw it coming. That's what they want to do with Drew, I think.
Well, this is a funny thing. Martin Carrillo goes on to say, should Ric Flair come back for one last run and defeat Roman to break?
I'll tell you how it happens. I'll tell you how it happens. So Charlotte Flair wins Money in the Bank next year, and she gives the briefcase to Rick, even though it's not the women's. Rick then cashes in. Like someone else lays out Roman, a new 4 Horsemen or something ridiculous, and then Rick gets the pin. Please don't. It was cruel to make Ric Flair wrestle. To be fair, it's cruel.
Yeah, if you saw some of the clips from his supposedly last match.
Did you see the last match? I
saw clips of it. Yeah, I saw I'm not gonna lie to you, it was tough to watch, but I did like the part of the match where Karen Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett kind of went after Ric Flair's son, daughter, and Conrad in the crowd. I like that. It felt real. His daughter did a really good job, really kind of like going after Karen Jarrett, and then even got Conrad involved.
She's a great heel, though, Karen Jarrett, isn't she? She's a really good heel.
I like that stuff. I think that's really, really good stuff. If you watch that clip, you see them kind of going at each other because they're beating up Ric Flair right there in the front, and Karen Jarrett gets involved. I think it's Conrad's wife, so it's Megan Flair, I think her name is. Yeah, so they go at each other. I think it's really, really good stuff. But it was tough to watch. The guy. Good thing it's his last match, hopefully, because you saw he actually did a thing with Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico, I think. So I don't know. Hopefully that's the end of it. But let's get into some of the comments for the Undertaker stuff. Eric goes on to say, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels is my fave. They battled when they were younger, and then the 2 Mania matches going full circle. Totally agree. Their matches. Kick-ass matches between these guys.
Fantastic. That Bad Blood match with the Hell in a Cell. Wow, what a match that was.
Really, really
even the Royal Rumble '97 was good as well.
Yeah. Mark Carey was gonna say also Edge versus Undertaker was a really good feud. Really was, especially the Hell in a Cell match, SummerSlam. Yeah, it's the one where I think because it happened at WrestleMania and then they had the rematch at SummerSlam, or I think it was, or they went SummerSlam and then WrestleMania.
Yeah, probably. They did have a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and then they went to SummerSlam after that, I think. Yeah. Which is I can't remember which is the one. I think that's the one where Edge goes into the into the ring, and then the fire comes out.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
this
He was wearing that helmet, wasn't he? He came out from under
I
the ring
think
with a
so.
helmet on, if I remember.
No. I mean, it was during the match. He fell through, like
he fell through the
choke
ring.
slammed him through the ring, and then he had the fire come out through the hole that he was in and stuff like that. I remember that part. Yeah. Martin Carrillo goes on to say, what did Jonesy just say? Charlotte putting a 76-year-old
She's just
over.
giving him the briefcase. Like literally, she wins the briefcase, and the briefcase is unisex, so he can cash it in. He doesn't have to actually do anything. He just someone else does all the work, and he runs in and then cashes in.
There you go.
There's your title.
Mark Carrillo says Rick should win the Royal Rumble just to make fans mad. I mean, that would be those. I don't know how everybody have to throw themselves out for him to win the Royal Rumble, make it not somewhat believable.
Can you imagine it? Oh my
everybody
God.
just kind of like
he eliminates Roman Reigns at number 30.
or everybody just kind of takes the finger poke of doom, where they kind of just lay down for Flair. They technically just throw themselves over. I guess it's the only thing I can see going on. Daniel Williams in the chat. What's up, Dan? My guy Dan, aspiring professional wrestler. Dan is. Can't wait to see what Cross does in WWE. I can't wait either. I'm a big Karrion Kross guy. I understand why they
awesome guy.
I understand why they can't do the Killer Cross stuff, but Karrion Kross, awesome guy. I love his stuff in NXT. I mean, he's not a flashy wrestler, but he's believable. To me,
I think I like the hard hitting style. The suplexes are good. The presentation package is different. I'm excited to see what they do with him. That's for sure.
Make sure you follow Dan on social medias.
I think he'll be going to the pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure Dan will be at the pay-per-view as well.
Yeah. I was surprised.
He's in his hometown.
There you go, Dan. Let us know if you're gonna be there, man. Appreciate you jumping into the chat, man. All right. So next topic, we're getting to the end of the show. Liv struggling with the title.
Yeah. So Liv Morgan, clearly everyone was really behind her to get the belt. Looking at this now, her recent run hasn't been particularly great. The scripted promos they've given her aren't working. Like this past week on SmackDown, there was like, I beat these people again. People start booing. I really feel sorry for her. Like it's almost like the WWE aren't really giving this chance, and the people they're putting her against, the fans are going for the heels, which makes it really, really tough.
Yep.
For me, I don't know whether they're going to pull an audible now and get this belt off her. I almost get the impression, based on what we're seeing, that she's a part-time player with the championship. She's not somebody that long-term they're going to go behind. And it wouldn't surprise me really if we see a Ronda Rousey in a special guest referee role at this pay-per-view as well. I think that's something they'll call out then now as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what we get. She has been. It's the problem is that it's tough to book a beatable champion. I said this a couple weeks ago. It's tough to book an extremely beatable champion. It's tough when you have opponents like Ronda, like Shayna, who technically you would look at and be like, yeah, they should beat her. It's tough to do. Dan goes on to say, I live an hour away from the stadium. It's crazy how close to home WWE are doing a major show to me. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like they don't really go to the UK much for big events. So this is a big deal. It is a big deal.
I think if they do, when they do Liv Morgan and Shayna, I expect Liv Morgan to win. If they do that special guest referee thing, if they're sensible, this will end up with Shayna and Ronda falling out. They did that interaction this past week on SmackDown. Look for that match at Extreme Rules, and I think that could be fantastic if they do it. But the only thing that limits it is the promos from Shayna. She's an awful promo, I've got to say.
Yeah, and I mean, and Ronda's not that great either. She feels very robotic and mechanical with her stuff. I think it's her vocabulary that she uses in her promos that hurts her big time. I think we lost Jonesy. Connection issues.
You back?
Got me? All right, I'm back.
Yeah, I've got you. You're back. Sorry, I don't know how much you heard. I was going to say, I think this could be a really, really good match. Like, ignore the promo side of it. We've always wanted to see Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler have a match. And for me, this is the place to get Ronda on the pay-per-view. I don't really know how she gets unsuspended, but I think sort of she should somehow be involved in this match. I'm surprised it's not a triple threat in all honesty. And then get belt off Liv in some capacity. What's your thoughts?
Exactly, yeah, because like I said, Liv is super beatable, and you have opponents for her that are just over the top. Like in terms of the incapacity of beating her, it's just too much. I don't think she could survive it unless you do one of those kind of reluctant champions where she's somehow survives all this and she still manages to come out on top as champion type of thing. It's really the only way you can go with it, or she loses it. I don't think there's much in between.
Yeah, I hope not. But I think the thing is, it's up to them really. They've got to make sure that if Liv does win this time, if they want to go down that route, that it's probably clean. But unless they're going to do the feud we said earlier, then she doesn't. Her winning like scruffily, almost cheating, like her saying, I beat these two people, look how good I am, doesn't work. That's where the fans boo.
Exactly. That's where the fans are going to boo. All right, we got two more topics to cover, and then at the end of the show. Number 9, new NXT Superstar. So we have some new talent coming to NXT.
Yeah, exciting time. So NXT are calling up 2 people from NXT UK. I'm excited to see these 2 up here. So the 2 people coming up from NXT UK. I'll just get my notes up so I should be better organized. We are seeing, look for Charlie Dempsey to come up. He is the son of William Regal. So it's great to see him up on NXT from NXT UK. And look for the team called Gallus, the tag team. Gallus, they're coming up as well. I'm excited to see what these guys do. I think clearly they are going to have some impact. It's great to see NXT bring some people up from NXT UK, particularly the fact with the taping being cancelled. I think it just sort of makes it kind of great that some people get some chances. Will you be excited to see these NXT UK talents come up?
Yeah, I'm excited to see all these different types of talent that come up from the UK because I haven't seen much of NXT UK itself. I would like to see them like in NXT. I just wonder, do they keep? It's like a interesting thing. Is like, do you keep the same character from NXT UK or do you switch it up? Do you keep the same names? Do you change it? What do you think? Are they going to change some of the stuff? Are they change the looks of the names?
I think it makes it really, really kind of interesting. Obviously, Gallus are a good tag team. Charlie Dempsey, for me, I'd be interested to see if they play on that whole Regal heritage. Now he's in AEW, they probably wouldn't. Obviously, Gallus has Joe and Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. So there's quite a few of them. Obviously, that's a stable. So a UK stable coming up. Would you be a fan of them adding this trio as like a stable in NXT at all?
Yeah, I'm a fan of stables if done correctly, and you don't do a million of them at one time, and they mean stuff. But that'd be a good look because like here goes Dan right here. Charlie Dempsey is a great, very hard hitting style. I hope they let him use his finisher in a chicken wing crossface. It looks brutal. So yeah, I hope they do because I like that British style because it's extremely physical. It's like the Japanese kind of strong style. So that's cool to see. Like obviously Pete Dunne was great. Tyler Bate when he was there was great. It's cool to see those type of guys come over and you see them more on NXT. It's just I always look at it like, what do you do with the character? Do you keep it the same? Is it going to work? Is it it's just a little bit different, but yeah, I mean that'd be cool. I'm a fan of factions. I can see them. It'd be cool to see them against like Legado Fantasma and other factions like that. That'd be pretty cool.
At this point, it's not clear if they're going to be on TV, but we know they're going to be on house shows. So I'm expecting them hopefully to be on TV. And really looking forward to seeing this Charlie Dempsey. Like the fact that he's got Regal as his dad. Like William Regal was such a good hard hitting wrestler back in the day. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean it'll be cool to see if they do that. The problem is like his dad's. It's a missed opportunity because his dad's in AEW.
It is a missed opportunity. I'm sure if Triple H could, he would bring Regal back. Like I think he's probably kicking himself. Same with, as you said the other week, Keith Lee. Like these people that they would love to bring back. Malachi Black. There's so many people they'd love to bring back if they could have, but we'll see. I'm sure William Regal may one day come back in some sort of agent role in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's not like him in the Combat Club is okay, but he's not doing a ton there. Liv Morgan hasn't wrestled since SummerSlam. They should let her have matches to really make her legit and a possible non-beatable champion. Also having empathy on her injury that she has. Yeah, I mean, there's ways you can go around her being extremely beatable. You play the sympathy role. Again, maybe I think the best thing to do is have her be a reluctant champion that somehow in the end you're like, how is she still holding on to the title type of thing? Like, how is she making it through these matches? How is she able to sneak past and win these titles win these matches and keep her title? Because she's not going to be somebody that just beats people straight up. I don't think most of that female roster, she's not going to beat everybody straight up.
I agree. Call this controversial. I actually think Raquel Rodriguez will be more over than Liv Morgan within 6 or 7 months. I think that's the route they go down. They're going to push Raquel, whereas I don't think Liv Morgan's push, after she's won this world title and had it for a while, she won't be a women's main eventer, I don't think. I think she will drop down, unfortunately, due to her booking. This has been a failed experiment, unfortunately.
Yeah, they should drop down a lot to like the women's tag division and stuff like that.
Probably.
And be meandering around there, Dan goes and say the big rumor of NXT UK ending as it's not working for WWE. Hence, we are seeing the ones they want to keep.
Good shout. That's a great point. That's a really analytical point. I agree with that. It's really sensible.
Fiscally, I guess they're not making much from it, so it doesn't make sense to
It's a shame. I feel really sorry for the talent. Like it must be really, really hard, like just for the talent. But let's see what they do. Let's see what comes out of it. Really.
Is Dragunov going to come to NXT? Have you heard anything about that?
Haven't heard anything at all. I hope so. They have to. Hopefully, Gunther would put in a word. Triple H obviously must know Dragunov is as well.
Yeah.
That could be something for the pay-per-view, actually. So Gunther obviously does beat Sheamus. I think that's going to happen. If Dragunov came out, what a way to get a pop. That is absolute money talking. WWE, it's easy to do as well. And the fans in the UK would absolutely react. That's a match that, for me, I'd love to see. I'd love to see that reaction live as well.
That's another thing. It was like you do it for the home crowd, but does it get as much play in the States on a normal loop?
If you show the matches, if you show sort of the highlights of the matches they previously had and say, this is Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit in their prime, so to speak, this is really hard hitting. These are two fantastic talents, so to speak. I think it could. I think these two sell themselves. Anything with Gunther sells it really for me at the moment. He's so good.
He's so good. And shout out to Gunther, too. I mean, the physical transformation Gunther's gone under, it's just absolutely amazing. Shout out to him. Martin Carrillo goes on, don't watch NXT UK, so hope they do hype packages for people unfamiliar.
I hope so as well.
Yes. That's the way. That's always the way they should have done it. But even NXT guys going up to the main roster, you have these packages, these video packages. You see them come up, and you get an idea.
The only reason why they won't do that is if they want all the NXT UK stuff to be forgotten about, and they want to repackage them as new characters.
Yeah.
I've not heard that yet, but I hope so. Unless they're going to come up as singles, but for me, I think you've just got to play on the lineage. Obviously, people that have held belts and stuff like Gallus have held belts in NXT UK, I believe. You've got to say these are former NXT UK tag team champions. It means more, if that makes sense. But NXT is a sensible point, really.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It really makes sense. I hope they don't do all that route where like we just want everybody forget NXT UK exists. That's a real Vince thing.
It'd be a shame if they did that.
If they do it now, then it wasn't a Vince thing. So that always felt like a Vince thing. Like make them forget. We'll get rid of it. Don't acknowledge it whatsoever. Make them forget about it.
I agree.
All right. Hey, West Coast Popcast in the chat. What is up, guys? My good buddies, West Coast Popcast. What is up? Says, why did TNT start airing WCW Thunder on Friday nights now? For real, calling Rampage a B show would be a compliment. I kind of feel like this is Zach saying this from West Coast Popcast. It feels like, I'm just going to go on a limb. It feels like him saying this comment. But I agree with him because it feels like Rampage doesn't really progress anything. It's just kind of like there, right? And so it is. And I feel like, why does Swerve and Our Glory win tag team titles and they're only really featured on Rampage now? It's very odd. I've only seen them like they get more play on Rampage than they do on Dynamite and they win tag team titles. I don't know. I agree with this comment. Rampage is a CD show. It feels like on the same level as the YouTube shows, but they're just not on YouTube. They're on TNT. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like it progresses much. It doesn't feel like it moves the needle anything forward. It's just kind of just there.
I think Rampage is a waste of time when it's taped. Like if it's a live special, where we obviously got CM Punk's debut on Rampage, didn't we? There are some good moments there, but for me, it should be live every week, really. But at least it's only an hour. Thunder was 2 hours to 3 hours, if I remember back in the day.
I think Thunder was 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Thunder, yeah. Yeah, I missed Thunder. Mills D in the chat. What's up, guy? What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it, man. Daniel says, I haven't watched Rampage in months. I haven't had any reason to tune in. You don't really have much of a reason to tune in the show because you're not going to miss anything unless they announce something huge, which they normally don't like let's say they announce MJF is going to show up on Rampage, then you watch it. But other than that, I mean, you're going to miss like 3 matches and they don't really, it's kind of what it is. Yeah. I mean, if the Trust Busters are like highlighting Rampage like this week, you didn't miss much, to be honest with you. Mills D says Triple H turning WWE great. I mean, there's a possibility because it seems to be on the right track to moving into really, really good territory. Monday Night Raw is not unbearable anymore. It's still 3 hours long, but it's an easier 3 hours to get through with Triple H at the helm.
It's a 2 hour show stuck in 3 hours, but it's much better. Recent weeks have been superb. I think it's the best it's been in years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, funny we bring up some Rampage, right? Because we're gonna get to the AEW really quickly, and it's the All Out main event.
Okay, so the All Out main event. This is obviously built from this past week's Dynamite. We've got in the main event. We're looking at it's going to be CM Punk and Jon Moxley unification title match. I'm excited to see this. I think it's going to be great. Look for MJF to come back after this main event. That's what I would put out there now. Controversial, big call. You've done nothing with MJF for months. This is the point he comes back, and I think he'll face the winner. I don't know who that will be, but for me, I think it could be a great match. Either whoever he gets, really.
Well, pick a winner. Who do you think is gonna win it?
I think CM Punk.
I think he has to. Because like I said this when the interim time. I'm not a huge.
I'm not a fan. Beat CM Punk eventually as well. Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, I'm not a fan of interim championships in professional wrestling because it's a scripted show, right? So who honestly, it depends on the timing of it. If CM Punk was champion for 6 months, he got hurt, you do an interim, then you have a sense of doubt. But he just won it. He didn't even defend it, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think he had a 6-man with FTR, and that's where he got hurt. He didn't really do much with it. He had it for like a week or two. So who in their right mind is really going to think that Moxie's going to come out on top here? Their plan was to put the rocket ship behind CM Punk, give him the title, and go on with him, maybe to MJF. But at this point, who thinks he's actually going to win the title? Because CM Punk lost it. He didn't lose it. He got hurt. He didn't defend. He didn't have a run with it. So I think interim titles, if the timing is correct, maybe works. But if it's not, like in this case, I don't think it really works.
I think they've been holding back MJF because CM Punk was missing. I think this is the thing. Although we had that bloody feud and stuff like this, MJF for the world title has got to happen before he leaves AEW in some capacity.
But has it lost all of its luster because they're like, oh, they did the promo, but we don't really know what to do because CM Punk's hurt. So let's not show him ever again, or even bring the promo up
It'd
in
be nice to
video
have him back,
packages or something
but
like that.
he's coming in at the top, isn't he? Let's be fair. He's got his chance to come in at the top now, MGF. He's not going to be stuck in a feud with Wardlow. And I think this guy, if he does the shoot stuff he can do, we've got CM Punk killing the pipe bomb promo. MGF can do his own pipe bomb. That's kind of going on, isn't it? But for me, if he doesn't come back at the end of this pay-per-view or on this pay-per-view,
don't bring him back
whatsoever. I've lost all despair. I
Yeah.
really don't know what they're doing, in all honesty.
Yeah, I don't think you should bring back him whatsoever if you're not going to bring him back. You already lost everything you've gained with that promo that he cut, so it's going to go even worse.
He's your next world champion, though, I think, after this, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
Has to
they don't have much else to kind of really put the title on. Yeah, it's got to be him if he comes back. Yeah. Mark Riddle says, speaking about Rampage, who in the blue moon is Zach Clayton? Where's AW getting their talent from? Dude, you don't want Jersey Shore? Because that's where he's from. He's from the Jersey Shore.
I don't even know who Zach Clayton is. Sounds like somebody from Saved by the Bell or something.
It does sound like it. He showed up on Rampage to challenge Hook for the FTW title, I believe on next week's Rampage. But yeah, it's just he's from Jersey Shore. He's married or dating one of the girls from Jersey Shore. Yeah, I know that. So a lot. Think what you want about that one, because I have watched Jersey Shore before, so I do know that. Yeah.
At least one of us did.
West Coast Podcast tried to make the start of your show, but was up late editing for today's show. Love the Rasslin Report. Still hate Cena. Yeah, it's definitely Zach. And yet, yes, the Jonesy MJF will return and do the Summer of Punk story this fall. So Zach agrees with you there on the story of Summer of Punk story with MJF coming back. What do you call it? Yeah, make sure you check out West Coast Podcast, the show they're editing right now. Make sure you watch that when it's up. Those are my guys, one of my favorite YouTube channels, West Coast Podcast. Enjoy doing stuff with those guys all the time. Brian Gill goes on to say Zach Clayton is the next big thing. See, Brian knows what's up. He knows he's from the Jersey Shore, and he knows Zach Clayton is the next big thing. Terrible promo he cut. I'm not gonna lie to you. When he called out Hook, terrible promo. Mark Carrillo, it makes sense for Punk to win. Yes, he's the draw, and AW wants to explore a world title run with him that they haven't had the chance just yet, and that's the problem. It got taken away like that so quickly into it that the interim thing, just to me, it's like he's holding the title, he's keeping it warm for CM Punk just to come back. I think they should have just vacated the title and then done a tournament again or
Probably
something like that.
But then there you go.
Okay, this is funny. Mark Riggles gonna say, I guess Jersey Shore AEW Forbidden Door event. We could see it. I mean, because we have seen
ideas.
Impact did have Jersey Shore people there. We had Snooki on WrestleMania. They've been there before. I mean, I guess they're into pro wrestling, so we'll see what goes on. But that's the AEW main event. I mean, the all-out main event. Moxley, CM Punk. I think it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win that one. I don't think there's much, mystery in the air as to who's going to win that main event. But those are our topics for this week's episode of the Rasslin Report. Jonesy, any last thoughts for you?
No, thank you all for your comments. Great to see you all back here. I hope you have a good week in wrestling. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to it. We've got some exciting stuff coming, I think. So, I'll see you guys back next week. And, hope you have a good week, Anthony. It's been great to be here again.
Yeah, it's been great. We appreciate everybody that joined us in the chat, all the folks that gave us wonderful comments, wonderful questions and opinions. Love you guys for doing that and giving us great content and stuff to talk about. Again, we're getting closer to Clash of the Castle. Jonesy's going to be there live. A lot of the other UK YouTubers are going to be there. So make sure you check out all their channels, SCW, Nonstop Wrestling Chat, all these guys. Make sure you check out their stuff because they're going to be there. It's going to be awesome stuff. We appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode, another week of the Rasslin Report, episode 12. We'll catch you guys same time, same day next week, hopefully. And thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you guys later.